We're inside here at the Dryden Fire Service now. We've met Fire Chief Ken Kurtz, we've met Information Officer Regan Breeze, and now we're here with the Deputy Fire Chief Cam McMillan. Cam, just tell me a bit about your position here as Deputy Fire Chief. I think a lot of people don't really know the difference between Fire Chief and Deputy Fire Chief, so what do you do here?
Well, I have several roles in the department. Number one role would be to back up Chief Kurtz for emergency response purposes. And secondly, and a major portion of my responsibilities for training for the staff, as well as health and safety for the department.
Now, I understand there's a training center here. So what kind of things do you do in the training center specifically? And I understand there's more than one use for it.
Well, there's multiple uses for the facility. The city of Dryden uses it as well as many other organizations throughout the community. But our main focus for the department is for monthly training on emergency response, different responsibilities and different tactics that we need to train on a regular basis.
Now, speaking of the training center, we're just getting in here now, and it looks like a nice big boardroom. So at times, are you having all 46 firefighters in here at one time?
There's 38 firefighters at Hall 1 and 18 at Hall 2, and there are times when there's 56 people in the room at one time. So the room can accommodate up to that many people comfortably, and it's a really modern training center for that purpose.
How often do you teach the health and safety aspect of it? Is it a minimum kind of once a month, or is it kind of as needed?
Well, in the department, we have a joint health and safety committee that meets 6 times a year, as well as we have monthly staff meetings, and each training session has a health and safety component as well to it.
Okay, so, lots of stuff happening here. And again, like Cam said, not only the Dryden Fire Service that uses this room, of course, the city and other organizations that need this wide empty space. So, speaking of, we're going to head to the garage and see kind of what's going on in there. I've never been in there as well, so we'll see all the trucks and cool stuff. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Again with Deputy Fire Chief Cam McMillan. And of course, looks like you guys storing a lot of equipment here. I guess the uniforms, at which we will get into more detail in a later show. So is this for all the firefighters here at the station?
Yes, each of our firefighters has their own individual personal protective equipment stored here. These are the equipment racks.
Okay, so like I said, we'll get into detail about these a bit later in another show. But look at this. We've got all these fire trucks here. Obviously, the main one I'm guessing they use is up here. So it looks like this is the biggest one. So is this the one that you guys use most commonly?
This is our newest truck. It is the first due vehicle out of the hall for most of our incidents, and it's Pumper 21. It's a pumper truck.
So, yep, this is the one that I'm sure many of you have seen around town if they're going to a fire or an emergency, of course, because we know they're not just fire. And, of course, lots of other vehicles here that they're using. And we're going to go take a look at Fire Hall 2, where there's a lot more vehicles. Of course, combining efforts, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back here at the Dryden Fire Service, Hall 2, just outside the city. And again, I've got Deputy Fire Chief Cam McMillan. So this is a smaller fire hall. So just to explain the purpose of this, obviously it's not right in the city. So just what you guys obviously use it for in terms of, going all over the place.
Well, just to provide a little history, this hall became Dryden Fire Service Hall 2 after the amalgamation of the city of Dryden and Barclay. So this hall existed in the former Barclay prior to the amalgamation. So after amalgamation, it became Hall 2.
Now we saw the Fire Hall 1, which is, the one that many people think of. But of course, we've got firefighters who are, usually out here and working away. So how does it the recruitment process for working out here specifically?
Well, as Dryden Fire Service, we run regular recruit programs, and those will be like every couple of years, every 3 years, depending on the needs of the department at the time. And this particular hall has a complement of 18 firefighters, and when there's a need for firefighters out here, any of the recruits that apply that live within the city of Dryden limits are eligible to be firefighters at Hall 2.
So obviously there's no one here right now. So is it kind of firefighters come as needed, or is there someone always here at some point?
When a page goes out, firefighters respond to both halls as required, and if firefighters are required to an incident from Hall 2, they will be directed as such by the incident commander.
So you could be sitting down having dinner. If a major fire sparks, you're called out. If you're stationed at this hall, you just come on out and head to work kind of thing?
Yeah, as it's stated, when the pager goes off, you respond to the hall.
Now, over the course of the past years, the Dryden Fire Service has responded to a number of calls. Specifically, we'll mention recently the Solomon one. Now, I understand it wasn't just the Dryden Fire Service that responded to one. You guys work with other community fire departments.
Yes, we have a mutual aid agreement the City of Dryden does with several municipalities surrounding us. Oxdrift and Wabigoon are two of those municipalities that we have mutual aid agreements with. And when an incident becomes large enough that should we require extra equipment or more equipment, we have the ability to call upon them as a resource.
And of course, you guys can assist them. So if there's a major fire in Oxford, you guys can go to them and bring your equipment, obviously.
Yes, the agreement is reciprocal, so we would respond if they require to their scenes as well.
So again, lots of equipment that, of course, Dryden, Wabigoon, and Oxford use to help each other out in case of fire or emergency. We can't forget that. Dryden Fire Service responds to emergencies as well. This is the first episode of Fire Talk. Of course, many more to come. I'd like to thank Fire Chief Ken Kurtz, Information Officer Regan Breeze, and of course, Deputy Fire Chief Cam McMillan. Stay tuned for future episodes of Fire Talk.